radio station. But don't forget to watch us if you would like to on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. Now, we all know the coaches in our schools. They usually were former athletes, but not all of them are still putting up big numbers and winning things, like Joshua Moore there at Oak Grove High School. He's the track and field and cross-country coach, but he just competed in the Mississippi Trail 50-mile run. You heard that right, 50 miles. And he is now the fastest 50-mile runner, not just in Mississippi, but in the nation. And he's joining us today to tell us a little bit more. Hey, Joshua.
Hey, Rebecca. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Congratulations.
I appreciate that. I've been getting a little bit of that lately, which is nice to see some of the hard work pay off.
Well, I would assume that a lot of hard work for a lot of years have gone into being able to accomplish something. So what was your official time for the 50-miler?
I think it's right at 5 hours, 50
How do you not
minutes,
know that?
And maybe like 20-something seconds.
23. I had it written down, but I figured,
Okay.
you'd be able to spout it out, which is insane to me because, there are folks who would love to just do a marathon under 6 hours, right? And so this is an incredible feat for you to do a 50-miler in that way. Obviously, you have a love for the sport of running to be the coach of cross country and track and field. But where did your start for running, love for running start for you, Joshua?
Oh, that's a good question. I love telling my origin story a little bit. I went to college at William Carey University in Hattiesburg, and prior to that, I had never done like any athletics or any running, and I got really into ultimate frisbee in college, and I did a lot of ultimate frisbee, and then I heard that our university was starting a track team, and I was like, man, that'd be so fun to say I collegiately pole vaulted. And so I tried out to be a pole vaulter, having never pole vaulted in my life. And the coach was like, hey, you made the team. You're not going to be a pole vaulter, but you will be a middle distance runner. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And he was like, well, it means you're going to run the 400 and the 800, and a lot of life is going to suck from here on out.
Because a lot of effort goes into those two, right? Even though they're not long distance, those are the painful ones.
Yeah, those are the painful events. And so I did 2 years of track at William Carey, and then I started doing cross country. And so I did a year of cross country and track during my master's degree. And that last year where I started doing cross country, the longer distance stuff, I realized, like, this is for me. Like, this is my thing.
Okay, 3 miles, and this is what gets me, Joshua. My daughter runs cross country as well as now her first season of track. And I am one who have completed 2 marathons, to the Mississippi Blues Marathon twice, and countless half marathons in my lifetime. So when I hear 3 miles is like long distance, I kind of laugh because I'm thinking, like, that's and for someone who doesn't run at all, I get it. 3 miles is a huge accomplishment for anybody to compete or to finish. But if you're in that world of running, especially as an older adult, then you get into the 10Ks, the half marathons, and the marathons. You're like, that's not long distance. But in the world of like high school sports, 3 miles is that the longest that track or cross country in terms of high school, college, track and field? Is that kind of like the longest that you'll do or that gets done?
For high school, yeah, the 5K, that 3 miles is right at kind of the furthest that they'll do. For track, they do a 2 mile for the distance side. And then when you get to college, cross country turns into an 8K and a 10K.
But still, that's not 50 miles, Joshua.
No, it's not 50 miles. I think the furthest, they used to do the marathon in college, and I think they moved back to doing just a half marathon. Okay. So, yeah, that's about as far as you'll go in college. That was the furthest I had ran coming out of college was right at like 12, 13 miles.
Okay, so when did you get into, and that was everything. So when did you get into these longer distances? Obviously, you kept running, and that's the cool thing that I share with my daughter and her friends who are getting into it. I'm like, this is something that as long as you stay healthy and take care of your knees and such, like, you'll be able to do this for the rest of your life if you enjoy it. So you obviously did. So kind of what was it after graduation like for you in terms of your relationship with running?
Man, that's such a good point you made of, and that's what I try to preach to my athletes. Is just like, this is something you can really do for a long time in your life to stay healthy, to stay active, and to stay motivated. But for me, I got out of college, And I think like many college athletes, like once you lose that team aspect, you kind of fall into a funk and a little bit of a depression. But I found in Hattiesburg a running group called the Pine Belt Pacers, and man, they were like my lifeline back into the running world. And I went to some of their group runs, and I met other people around my age or older who had been running and who kind of introduced me into this world, if you will, of like marathons and half marathon racing, and really kind of opened my eyes in that. And it was there that I actually met a lot of my really good running buddies today, but also the guy that I ran my first ultra marathon with. And that was quite the experience.
So what's considered an ultra, Joshua?
Anything over 26.2, I think they technically consider an ultra. I say really about that 50K, so 31 miles is an ultra. But if you ask an ultra runner, they're going to be like, all right, 50 miles and up is an ultra. But yeah, anything over a marathon, I think, technically.
So how many marathons did you do before you ventured out into more mileage, or if you from the beginning just knew you had an engine and kind of wanted to go for it big?
So I think that question is going to prompt another question, and so my answer to that is I actually did an ultra marathon before I ever did a marathon.
Stop. Have you lost your mind? So
yeah, that was a pretty crazy one.
So what's the first one you did?
I did not think I was going to make it. The first one I did is called Sonica Kills, and it's in Tunica Hills near St. Francisville, Louisiana. It is just a miserable course, and it's hilly, and it's in the middle of summer, and me and one of my running buddies, we signed up for it like idiots, and we finished this race. For perspective, this 50-mile race took me 12 hours to do.
And you just did one in
over
6.
twice as long as my most recent one. And I think to this day, me and him are the only people that have ever finished the 50-miler out there.
You just have a little grim little Mississippi grit to you. You're like, I'm just not going to give it up. It may
That's
take
what
me.
I'd be telling them. That's what I'm telling them.
May take me all day or 2 days, but we're going to cross that sort of finish line. So how do you juggle it all? Because that was one thing, becoming a mom, and then, the training for such things just can take a lot of time. At least 1 or 2 runs a week can be super long, and, a lot of devotion to it. So I imagine that there's a lot that goes into training for a 50-miler. So how do you juggle that and coaching and teaching and all that you do there at Oak Grove?
I definitely work really hard, but I do want to put the emphasis on I am very blessed with my situation. There are a lot of times during the day where I get to run with my athletes, and so compared to like the average everyday person, like I can kind of sneak in some mileage that they wouldn't otherwise be able to sneak in. But we do like 2 to 3 days a week with the distance runners. We do a 6 a.m. run, and so it's not all during school hours. But yeah, some mornings we got to wake up early and get that 6 a.m. run. And by the end of the day, after you've done your double, your second run of the day, you're pretty exhausted.
Amen.
But yeah, I definitely am blessed with my situation of being able to run kind of during some of my work hours.
What do your student athletes think of Coach Moore and his running? Maybe not just of you as a person, of your running.
I'll give you some perspective. After I finished, my 50-mile race, and the distance runners that I'm very close to, they follow and they track it, and they're looking for me to hit my goals and my accomplishments, and they responded to my run. I think on GPS the run came out to like 48.8 miles or something like that because it was in the woods. And so one of the first comments was not even a 50-miler, and so that was by one of my athletes.
That sounds just like I don't know what we call this, Gen whatever, Z or whatever they are at this moment, but yes. It sounds just like them for sure.
They love to hate on me.
Joshua, can you hang with us through the break?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
All right, we got more with Joshua Moore.